and we're going to line up. And the reason we do that is we just want to take each our own moment to enter the temple. I want you to make this session that we share together awesome for you. And is there anything special about a temple? No. It's only as special as you make it. So, inviting each one of us as we walk in to make a special moment for yourself, to get yourself in the state of mind to make the most of each moment, to pump up your focus and immersion, and be ready to make something awesome for yourself. So I'll ring the bell, we'll line up. As you get to the door, I invite you to give yourself a nice moment. And if you feel like it, there's a statue of an enlightened being at the back of the room. You may want to have a moment with them, reflect on the enlightened being inside yourself, or to see the awesomeness and the wisdom in everyone. And then you can just walk over to one of the cushions and we'll take it from there.
It's time to party, meditate.
You mean you're not already stoned? That's new.
Well, welcome everybody. It's great to have you all here. We've already had some people on the live stream. Niska said wishing you all the best with today's session. They can't join us. Niska often comes in the snake avatar, wishing us all well. So I just want to start by setting today's intention. I'm going to be looking at leveling up our mind power, and I'm going to apply it to a few different parts of our life. But I want to set an intention that's bigger. I hope that today brings you peace and happiness and empowerment in a few areas of your life. But actually, I'm running this session that I want that not just to impact you in the ways that we cover today, but that your sense of mental empowerment, your awakeness, ripples through every part of you, that you can be free to make yourself a happier, more confident, more awesome person, that you can change habits to make your life more wonderful, that you can be free to choose yourself in any and every way. But actually, I want to set an intention for something even bigger than that. I hope that you become this positive empowerment in such a way that you make others around you feel at peace, that you comfort and encourage and empower others. And actually, even bigger than that, I hope we can all set an intention that what we practice today, what we learn today, the seeds that we sow in our mind today, are actually working towards a world where everyone is free from the traps they put themselves on, where everyone is free to create states of bliss and compassion and love, where everyone is helping each other to be as awesome as possible. You know, one thing when I think about how people hurt others or put others down, or just how much I could visualize society being better, and in a world where we're not necessarily prioritizing helping each other or making the world as good as possible. And then I imagine a world where everyone is trying to make themselves and the world as awesome as possible. That's my intention, to bridge that gap, to help you be as amazing as possible, to shine that out to everyone around you, and for us to figure out how to make that contagious so that the whole world is reflecting on themselves and transforming themselves, being bliss and awesome, and that we make that together for everybody. So, I hope that some parts of that intention sounded good for you, and let's begin our session. I'd like to dive straight into a guided meditation, and that will set the tone for today's discussions. So if you're brand new to meditation, it's kind of like a storytelling or a guided daydream. My hope is that I will take you into a place inside yourself where everything else will disappear. You're just fully immersed in your own consciousness and in some of the positive ideas I'm going to share. There's no right or wrong way to meditate. So many different styles of meditation. So I invite you just to sit back and enjoy. Just try to make the most of whatever suggestions and guiding that I share. So we're going to start with our posture. Just maybe wiggle your butt, get your feet flat on the ground, or check that the way your legs are crossed feels really nice. If you're sitting on a cushion, I invite you to check that your knees are beneath your hips. Maybe move forward a little or put another cushion underneath. If you're sitting on a chair, you can check in. Do you want to be sitting up with your spine up in the air, or do you want to lean back into the chair? Just move around a little bit and just maybe give your shoulders a little roll, letting your body just feel at peace, feel present. If your eyes are still open, I invite you to close them. And just with the idea that, hey, I'm stepping within myself now. And then feeling the whole of your body, we're going to take a slow, deep breath and let your body settle and become still into your meditation posture. And most people notice that if they are feeling their body and they take slow, deep breaths, over a few breaths, the body feels a lot more at peace, a lot more still. And then as you're doing that, you may notice some ways to adjust. Like I just really notice I've got to move my armrests and change my arms. But over the next few breaths, you're just going to get into a better and better posture and feel more and more centered and present. And you might notice that I've slowed down my voice. And if you intentionally change the speed and the tone of your inner voice, you'll notice after a little while that can really shift gears in how your consciousness feels. And we're going to experiment with taking some very deep breaths. Try to fill up your lungs. We'll take a few of these very deep breaths, and especially when you're breathing out, breathe out slowly and enjoy the feeling of just letting go. And then notice how you feel now. What's your state of mind? How's your body feel? What kind of thoughts or feelings are in your consciousness? And I invite you to imagine, what if all of that just disappeared completely? We'll take a few deep, powerful breaths as you just imagine an even deeper sense of complete peace and stillness. Take a couple more deeper breaths and imagine going deeper into peace. And now for some of you, those guided suggestions have brought your body into peace, your mind into stillness. Each breath feels soothing. And if that's you, you can just let each breath be even more soothing. Perhaps you could remember the best feelings you've ever had in meditation. The sense of spaciousness, the freedom, probably feelings or sensations that I could never even put into words. But then for some of you, there's other activity in the mind has not yet been caught into the meditation. So I want to catch all our attention So try to take a really powerful breath. And like every bit of your mind is focused on that breath. Sometimes I like to imagine that all the different parts of my mind are like different spotlights, all this way and that way. But when I choose to, I can make them all point in the same direction. So imagine if every bit of your mind, your feelings, your visual mind, your thoughts, your words, your sounds, all your sensations, every bit of you is just feeling the breath, hearing the breath. And just like when a magnifying glass points many light beams into one point, it becomes so powerful. Feel your whole mind being present. Yes, we're just breathing. Yes, we are just becoming perfect peace and stillness. But feel your whole consciousness just captured, completely present in this present moment in the breath. And as you watch your consciousness closely, you'll learn to surf those waves. There'll be a little moment where, oh, that felt so much more soothing. Oh, I was so concentrated just then. The way I guided my consciousness just now felt powerful. Oh, there was a glimpse of peace. Wow, that whole breath felt so happy. Setting all of your attention in just being with the breath, you can also watch your consciousness and craft it that each moment feels more awake, more beautiful, more powerful. If it feels like 10% of your brain is engaged in the meditation, maybe you could imagine what it would feel like if a little more of your mind was just completely immersed in watching your consciousness. Maybe we could all imagine what it would be like if 100% of your consciousness was fully present in this moment, completely immersed in being conscious and observing your consciousness. Imagine if everything else just disappeared. You were pure concentration, pure experience. Every single moment, your whole consciousness, like laser-like focus. Just experiencing the breath, being aware of that concentration. We'll have one more dive into pure attention. In each breath, there are millions of moments. Try to feel every single moment of this breath. All of your attention in every single moment of this breath. And then you can just let your attention rest and notice what your state of mind is like now, how your attention moved, anything you learned about guiding your attention or observing your own mind. And we're training ourselves and our meditation habits. So I just invite you to feel whatever felt good. To set yourself up that when you think about meditation, it feels empowering and it feels soothing, and that it feels good. If it took you a few minutes to find peace, you could phrase it as, oh, my mind didn't settle for a while. Or you could phrase it as, it just took a couple of minutes and wow, I got in a different state of mind. Just letting yourself appreciate and frame your meditation in a way that will bring more and more goodness into your life, into your mind, into your feelings. You can do amazing things with your consciousness. You have beautiful feelings inside yourself that you'll grow and tap into. You'll learn to guide your consciousness more powerfully, more precisely. You'll learn to see and release thoughts about yourself that don't help you, and replace them with ways of being that are awesome. Just take some empowering breaths, and I just want you to feel positive about yourself, about your consciousness, about learning to be more and more conscious. If that's very intellectual for you, I invite you also to feel into it. Feel. Bring yourself more beautiful peace, more happy bliss, more joy, positive feelings in your body. And if you were really feeling into it, I invite you to also conceptually comprehend it. You are the master of your consciousness. You choose each word, each thought. You program your own mind. You write your own scripts. And as you are coming out of the meditation, perhaps there's some things from the meditation you'd just like to really remember for yourself. Perhaps there's some things you'd like to talk about. Just bring whatever you want to bring from the meditation. Alright, so I'm going to give a short little talk, and then I want us to hopefully open up to a really engaging conversation about anything and everything from your meditation or from your life. So last week's topic, we were looking at deep relaxation, whether that's for being more at peace, or I also spent a lot of the focus on sleeping really well, being able to guide yourself off to sleep when you choose with a body scan and relaxation suggestions. And we also looked at the attitudes around that, like choosing to go to bed when you're tired and sleeping the whole night through and having a nice way to wrap up your day with your affirmations or your meditation or whatever it is that you choose to make your end of day routine. And it was maybe half an hour that I was just repeating this idea of, hey, when you start to get tired, just go to bed. If there's lots of things to do, just feel good that you'll do them tomorrow. You'll sleep really well to make the most of your day. And the reason I'm reiterating this is because I found that this week, every single evening, when I started to want to do lots more things, I just remembered, hey, it's time to go to bed. I'll sleep really well, and then I'll be more awesome tomorrow. And that one session was enough to change this behavior radically for me. And I hope it was helpful for some of you. But I really noticed that me talking about it for half an hour was enough to really impact myself. So I'm sharing that because I hope you then reflect upon how we keep talking to ourselves and to others, and how you can epically impact yourself. Talking with some of the people who attended, someone was telling me, oh, yeah, but this habit is so blah, 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 blah. And in a context where it was like the daytime and we could be affirming and setting our mind up to succeed, they were affirming and setting their mind up to fail. And I guess this is the crux of what I wanted to focus on. Leveling up our mind power and our mindfulness is really choosing that every thought that we entertain, everything we say to ourselves and to others, every feeling that we let ourselves lean into, let it be the one that you'd choose, the one that you'd practice. Whether that's sleeping well, or being happy, or whatever it is, any and every aspect of your life, please notice what you practice, what you tell yourself, what you say to others. And if you see a belief or a feeling that's not helpful, just try stepping out of it for a while and practice something else. Give that other part of you a real chance to be felt and experienced. And, I gave that talk for half an hour and it impacted me. Maybe find some ways to do that. Talk about this decision you've made a lot with your friends, or write it on a card and read it multiple times and do that affirmation. Or maybe make it into an artwork or a music track that you listen to a lot. Drill it into yourself. Get those brain cells to send out new pathways and make them strong, so the things you choose win. Rewiring your own consciousness. So I have a lot more I would like to share and empower and reiterate about that. But I want this to be a collaborative exploration. Has anyone got any thoughts or anything in regards? Dreister, and you seem keen. Let's hear what you want to say.
Yes, please. I would like to say, that most of what you said sounds very, very much like a self-help book, more than the search for truth, like the actual search for truth. For example, what you said, that we can control our consciousness. We are consciousness. We don't control our consciousness. We are consciousness. Our ego is the illusion. So how could you be identifying with the ego that we can control, say, air quote, our consciousness? We are the consciousness.
So part of that is semantics. Like, yes, I could have phrased it in the context that you were saying, but to explain your question is like the person I was talking to who affirmed that they're going to stay up late because that's their habit. Were they consciously choosing their thoughts?
No, it's karma. It's karma. It's habit. If you have always woken up at 8 o'clock every day, and somebody told you to wake up at 7:45, you're going to have a bad reaction to it. You're going to say, no, I'm going to wake up at 8 because you've always woken up at 8. But that's karma.
Can we try
That
and
is your habitual life.
Can we try and phrase this in a way that is most empowering and helpful? So
Okay, no,
yeah.
we don't need empowering and helpful. We need truth. We don't need self-help book. We need reality.
So what I'm saying is truth and it is reality. So I invite you to just try to explore into how you would, whatever it is you're trying to convey, how you can do that in a way that adds to what I'm saying. So yes, Drashto makes a point that you as consciousness are not your thoughts. You're not actually controlling your consciousness. When you step in to being conscious, when you're in that space that's not caught up in any of the thoughts, that is that freedom. And then all the thoughts and beliefs and habits that we have, that is actually what we are controlling. We ourselves, well, actually, Drystone, when someone isn't practicing mindfulness, their consciousness can go and get caught up in something that's unhelpful. So if they're not controlling
Unhelpful being ego?
the belief that they stay up late, or the idea to be sad, or a confrontational way of communicating.
All these things being ego. Yes, ego.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to agree to that. Like, that's just one label that you can put on many different things.
No, it's psychological. It's scientific. That's what psychology teaches us. We have the id and the ego, and then we have the consciousness. The id has no part of this, so it is the ego. Consciousness is pure awareness.
There are different contexts to the meaning of each word.
When it comes
It
to
is helpful to
scientific
determine which
thinking, when it
context
comes
is
to
being
on the
used
plane
for
of
which
science,
meaning.
we don't use different
Hey guys,
contexts. We use one context
I
for the
I
word.
always try to
That
have
way,
these.
science can be like agreed upon on the same meanings, same level.
Guys, I always try to
same
have these
plane
sessions.
of reality.
I always try to have these sessions as focused on what we can actually practice and achieve. So, debating on different paradigms of the mind, I don't actually think
Yes,
gets to
that's
these
true.
results.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
However, I disagree with these kinds of sessions, especially in a Buddhist temple, especially in the name of Buddhism, with a statue of Buddha sitting right there.
That's not Buddha. That's
That
just some enlightened
you
being.
doing,
As I said when we arrived,
that's
there's an
Gautama Siddhartha. That is the Buddha.
well, if you don't like it, you're free to leave, or you can try and learn.
And I'm sorry to say, but yes, as I was saying, I do disagree that we're doing this self-help book massaging of our feelings kind of thing. This is supposed
Dry
to be
Stone, as I
awakening,
said,
opening
you
our
can.
eyes to the truth kind of thing.
That's what
Not
we're
just
trying to
making
achieve.
our feelings feel better.
So,
well, then you gotta stick to truth. You can't just be self-help. Like, what is the term again? Controlling our consciousness. That is so far beyond the truth.
I invite
We
you
don't
to look at
control
how
our
you're
consciousness.
communicating and how are you helping the people that are here. Like
I'm waking them up. I'm
do
waking
people
them
feel
up
like Dry
off the
Stone's waking
spell
you
that
up?
you just cast.
No. Apologies, Drystone, but to us you are being very disruptive.
Am
Yeah,
I?
and
By
I would
sharing
say
my
as well.
thoughts,
Actually,
by
you
sharing my
are,
opinions, I'm being disruptive.
like
I
Yep.
would say that
Neil
consciousness
Jackson Hamlet,
isn't
but
pure,
you are.
and consciousness isn't pure awareness. Consciousness is just being. It just is. So pure awareness would mean that you're being aware.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
consciousness
Yes.
is just
Again,
being.
you're coming
It's
back
more-
to exactly what I said. Pure awareness,
not
being
always
aware,
conscious.
awareness.
No, I'm disagreeing. I'm saying that consciousness just is. It isn't pure awareness. It is just is. There's a difference. If
I
you
would
want to
say
go
it's the
with semantics.
that we are, not
Thank you.
necessarily
That's what I was
consciousness.
just going to say. The observer, exactly. The observer, the watcher, the seer, the ghost driving the machine. That is the consciousness. Being conscious means being conscious of what's happening, being conscious of how you're feeling, being conscious of the sensations, being conscious of sounds and sights and smells that are around you. It is the observer.
Mm-hmm. And that's not in contradiction to what we were talking about. So
No,
as
but
we
you
watch,
said controlling consciousness.
okay, so you are focusing on a different definition of the word. Perhaps I could clarify. When we control which thoughts and which ideas we put our attention onto, that does change how we feel, how we respond to things, we're all on a track in our life, and if you choose to put your attention on a different thought or different feeling, let's say you've been shy and you choose to put your attention on being at peace around people or confident, that will continue to shape your mind and your habits and feelings in a different direction, which will then also change the kinds of interactions you have with people and where your life goes. And this, so I'm not really sure why you're framing it in a way that's disagreeable. Like, it's really just...
No, not disagreeable. It's just the sentence itself, controlling consciousness.
Okay, so
That's
choosing
in
where you
itself a
put your
paradox. It
attention,
doesn't-
choosing where you put your effort. I mean, there's no need to be so disagreeable just because you don't like the way I phrased it. Some people do like the way I phrased it.
No, I just like to state truth, because misinformation, the sharing of misinformation, is one
Drystone,
of the biggest problems of the world today.
can you
That's all I'm
please
saying. I'm not saying
can you
anything
please
wrong.
meditate for a little while on how you could try and share in a way that is additive?
Oh, sorry, I'm not conforming, and I must be put aside because I don't form.
Well, there are people who are here to
to
try and
the rest
have a
of the group.
good time, who are trying to learn.
Good time,
Apologies,
but that's not about this.
but it would appear
Buddhism is not about
that
having a good time.
Man,
It's
stop
about the search
complaining.
for truth.
I'm having a good time. Speak for yourself.
It's about.
appreciate it. I'm
That's
having
what
a good
saying.
time.
I'm not saying. Okay, I'm glad you're having a good time. I have nothing.
there is
against
too
that.
much
I'm not
focus being
saying
placed
anything against
on
that.
the semantics and the context of the meaning of the words being used, rather than attention to how the words are being used to convey the information.
Precision of language is important for
Well,
knowledge and experience
Language
to be
is
shared
diverse,
correctly.
and many words hold many different meanings depending
True,
on the
true.
context of how they are used. There is no
That is true.
scenario where any one word can be used a singular way.
Well,
Drystone,
there's a plane.
perhaps
Yes.
we've clarified that it was just a different phrasing of talking about a similar thing. So maybe we could move.
We have. I
Yeah.
agree. But there's no reason to continue to oppress me.
I'm trying to make.
Maybe you should start your own school.
Maybe I should.
You know it all better, you know?
Maybe, yeah.
So
you're right.
Zeno was just
Yes,
asking.
You are correct.
Zeno was just asking. Perhaps the idea is that we can't control our consciousness. So, Zeno, I definitely want to emphasize that if we do practice mindfulness meditation and watching very closely what happens in your consciousness, you are able to learn how to let go of things instantly. You are able to get into states of peace. And it might take a lot of practice. It might seem like far off from where you are now. But I want to say that it is possible. If you were to do single-pointed breathing meditation each day for an hour, for a couple of months, it would blow your mind how much you had let go of, how much more centered you'd become, how you would then get to choose the thoughts and the feelings that you want to focus on. In the journey between having that full awakened empowerment and now, there's many different approaches and tools and practices you can take to make each day and each thing, each part of your life better. As I was saying, the kind of beliefs and habits that you practice, they shape how you are. So aiming to create those habits and practices in a way that is useful, even if you're not watching every moment of your consciousness, aiming to do that is definitely steering yourself in the right direction. And my wish is that every one of you is inspired to want to explore that state of consciousness that has released all unintentional thoughts and feelings by meditating enough to empower your consciousness to be there. An hour a day for a couple of months might seem impossible. I hope some of you are inspired to try it. But even 10 minutes a day is enough that you will notice massive improvements in how your consciousness responds to things and the kind of thoughts you give attention to. Wait, let me read that again. Existing without discipline is being. Awareness and consciousness show discipline of the mind. Yeah, absolutely. The more we train our minds, the more wonderful we can make our way of being, the more wonderful we can move through life and respond to things.
Our experience of life. We can make our experience of life more pleasant.
Among many, many other things, yes. Yeah, I would definitely wish for everyone here to be completely free of all suffering, so that nothing that ever happens they respond negatively to. And I also wish that people will cultivate happiness and compassion and joy and make the world a more wonderful place. And if you have teachers that say making happiness and joy isn't good, well, I think they're wrong on that point. Zeno, I saw you start to respond a little bit. If you want to take your time, I'm happy to come back whenever you're ready to ask what you wanted to ask. So actually, one thing I wanted to do is like meta-reflect upon what just happened there. So often in spiritual philosophy or self-development things, people will focus on semantics, or people will get into like religious dogma or beliefs about the afterlife or the energy, and none of these things actually help in your day-to-day life. So as I said, I was trying to frame this class like, let's look at the specific practices that will help us. Let's look at observing our mind and cultivating the states of consciousness that are helpful. And when we start debating like ideas about how that works, if they're not directly helpful, I encourage you to just set them aside. And so much spirituality and so many spiritual paths are actually mostly the imaginary stuff. So in amongst that imaginary stuff, there's like little glimpses of something that will make you happy or will make you believe in something big. But if the majority of it is not reality, is not applicable to actually living, then I encourage you to try and find the practices and the habits and the ways of thinking that are actually just going to help you live more fully, be more loving and patient with people. So I want to try and step back into the state that I'd cultivated in the meditation, and hopefully that you did as well. I was trying to be into that state where we are empowered, we are free from emotional fluctuations, where we are in peace and strength. Yeah, absolutely. So people are used to editing the stats of their video game characters. 100%. I want every one of you to be really empowered, that when you think about yourself, you can change the stats on yourself. And as Drywood said, that that isn't the entire goal. There is also like deeper awakening to become more and more free from any of the stories you've been telling yourself, and asking yourself, hey, where do I really want to put my attention, my being? What are my true values? What are really important for the world? But on the way there, a giant step towards that is being able to just tweak your stats. Like I mentioned before, I went from wildly shy to wildly confident over a couple of months. Done the same thing with, or many of us have also done the same thing, from sadness or depression into empowerment and happiness. Some of us have done a similar thing with leveling up our sport and our art. By living more richly and wonderfully, then we're living more richly and more wonderfully, and it is inviting to others to want to explore and discover what is it that you're doing that's beneficial. Drystone, have you thought of how you wanted to share your perspective in a way that is additive and will be more useful?
Yes, I have.
Let's hear it.
Well, again, I believe personally, let me at least add that, it is in my professional opinion, that the Buddhist philosophy, Buddhist teaching is a path that leads to the search of truth, the highest truth, so that we wake up from the illusion of life, the illusion of ego, and the illusion that keeps us so sad, so depressed, so upset most of the time. Because it is in my observation that I have seen so many people, especially in VRChat, who say that they are depressed, they are sad, they are suffering. And all this is because they don't know how to control their mukta, the brain, their mind.
Consciousness.
And it's not even about control. It's not to free yourself of suffering. It is to know how to deal with suffering, how to approach it. Because as you also, I'm sure, very, very well know, that we cannot control what happens beyond us, outside of us. These things will always happen. There will always be a storm happening outside the house. But inside the house, it can, if the one is willing, always be calm, cozy, silent, still. And so I propose the idea that we should not try and change the weather, but we should try to make the house, the inside of our house, as cozy as possible, because that wind, that storm will never be able to touch us unless we let it, unless we open the windows, unless we open the doors.
Sounds like something I've read in some self-help books.
Just philosophy.
So Zara Rin just said, I'd like to say thank you for doing these sessions consistently. And, I really love that we have this community and that we have this place to come to every week that is soothing and empowering, that uplifts us, that bonds us. So I'm glad that even though you're often on the video chat and not here in VR as much anymore, I'm glad you're here with us. And the same goes for all of you. I hope, as well as wisdom and practices, that it also is a place of friendship and nourishing and support. In Drystone brought up Buddhism. As many of you know, I try to not make this anything Buddhist. It's about whatever's most enlightening and helpful. But in Buddhism, many of the different lineages have this saying of turning to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Or to translate that, it's either turning to the original teacher or to the enlightenment inside yourself. And then turning to the teachings, and then turning to the community. So I really hope that every one of you feels a connection to this community, and also finds people in every other chapter of your life where you lift each other up, where you support and encourage each other. And if you're in some very dark places, maybe go and visit some other places in your local community where there will be either meditators or happy people or people who are trying to make things better. So yeah, turning towards the enlightenment in yourself, knowing that it's possible, spending time to connect to that, to practice it, to watch your mind carefully. Some would say that's turning to the Buddha. But then also, there are some teachings that are so helpful. Turning to the Dharma, turning to philosophies that are as helpful as possible. Some of you regulars might notice that I try to share just the parts that are as applicable and powerful as possible. You can go and read all the philosophy books in the world, and it's probably less helpful than focusing on the 10 most helpful attitudes. Make sure you stay focused on the things that are really powerfully beneficial. and with our community. You can be that source of light to others. You know, I was saying that last week's session that has just been radically helpful for me all week. I hope you also find you can do something similar to people around you. Spend some time sharing wisdom of meditation or some good habit that you've changed or that you're working on. And as you share that to people around you, it's beneficial to you. When I first started meditating, I was in a pretty dark place with a lot of, let's say, unmindful friends who were bringing me down before I learned to meditate. And then after I started to envisage, our original dedication of an enlightened planet, even when they were being all kinds of negative, I dove into this vision of an enlightened world and brought out my love and my patience and whatever goodness I could play into that game of what was happening there. And so by shifting our perspective, like Drystone was saying, if there's a storm around you, if you make your inner world warm and cozy, even the storm can bring you love. So yes, I definitely encourage you to spend time with positive, uplifting community. But even when you're with others, you be that positive, uplifting community. And one other thing I really want every one of you to carry forever is what I was saying before, that one of the people who attended last week, when we were talking about going to sleep when you get tired, instead of affirming, yes, that's what I'm choosing, that's what I'm practicing, they affirmed their old habit. And I invite you to notice whenever you do that, if you're ever like, oh, but I'm sad or it's hard, just see, hey, that's a program, it's a habit, it's a groove that's been carved in my brain, but I choose not to practice that anymore. Doesn't matter how real it's felt, I'm choosing to practice something else from now on. Anytime you see yourself affirming something that is unhelpful, step out of that and step into cultivating that which will be helpful, that the way that you would imagine would be awesome for the world, or the way that it will make you happy, or the way that it will be more fun, or the way that will spread more love. So the reason I said today's session was about empowering our mental empowerment as well as mindfulness. Yes, you can cultivate compassion, you can cultivate peace, you can cultivate happiness. And if at the same time you're not watching your mind carefully, and then you're also cultivating anger or sadness or being bad at something, then you're setting up this tug of war in your mind. And so as we practice mindfulness, watching our mind carefully, we can cultivate the positive and then just notice wherever there's any of those other things and let them go, stepping our whole self up into the conscious chosen self and letting the other stuff go as completely and as quickly as you can imagine. And I'm hoping to make a space where you're able to imagine that you let it go instantly, where you can feel what it would be like to let it go completely and instantly. What if everything about you, everything, every attitude, every habit, the good, the bad, if you just put it all aside and you started over, you're just like born again right now, what would you choose?
Pleasantness, joy, happiness,
Bring it on. There's more and more.
positivity.
And if every day we step into that place of, hey, I'm going to choose and I'm going to be that person, I'm going to cultivate that. And not just general joy, I'm going to be joyful with the grumpy person in the store. I'm going to be positive in going to bed on time. I'm going to be positive in the way I exercise. Like every part of your life. There's millions or billions of parts of your life. And bringing your choice and your freedom into every part of that. By practicing what you want and also noticing what's there, letting go of what's not great, and fine-tuning everything else. Now, Messiah Aisho just said, it's easy, isn't it? And now one part of me wants to get you feeling like, yes, that is easy. I will do it with all my freedom and love. Because when you think about it, I want you to be feeling like, yeah, I'm going to imagine that awesomely. And then I also want to be, while completely inspiring and empowering, also completely understanding and patient. If you've got other stuff going on in your mind, this is why we practice. This is why we meditate. This is why we were just immersed in our breath. What is it to let go of everything else? I'm just going to learn to put my consciousness where I want. And you can make your consciousness strong enough, free enough, that it does become easy. But it's a lot of practice. But my hope is to inspire enough inspiration and positivity that every part of you is heading in that direction. And whenever you find a harder...
Something on that?
Please.
I just wanted to say, when we accept that happiness, like to be happy, to be joyful, like to become joyful, it implies that joy, that happiness is in a temporary state, that we might lose it again, that it is acquired and it may be lost. But when, as you said, when you get to that point, as you said, you don't become joyful, you become joy. You don't become happy, you become happiness. You become love. That it become you, it is who you are, it turns into. Not what you have, but every moment of your being, you are gushing out, radiating that joy and love and happiness all the time, because you are it. You don't have it, you are it. As you said, that's the point to come to.
And Dryson was saying how it's impermanent. So even when you're in these profound states and you've cultivated, you're going to have different waves. You'll be riding a wave of happiness, and that'll turn into a wave of compassion, which will turn into a wave of patience, which will turn into a wave of caring. But they're all there within you, wherever you choose to put your attention at any time. They're there within you. They are you. It's semantics. But yes.
No, true. Within you. There's always that within you. It's all about accessing it and connecting with it, identifying with it, so it becomes you. Like you said, it's always within you. You're correct.
Thanks. Now, anyone who's watching the class, the camera is slightly different to VR. So some of us are typing, and you can't see that their typed messages are popping up. That's why I keep running over into the audience to read people at the back. So some bits to learn and mostly to remember. Messiah Isho, do you mean like in each moment we remind ourselves, we remember to be aware, we remember? So Messiah Isho wrote, we learn to meditate and then we remember our true selves. So I'm not sure if I believe that. So for some context, in some spiritual movements and self-development movements, there's this belief that our inner self, if you polish away all of the stuff you've picked up in your life, all that's left is this enlightened, blissful self. And I'm pretty sure if someone believes that, then as they're meditating, they're going to be tapping in or creating this awesome self. I'm not sure if we're tapping into it or if we're creating it. But if you believe it, you're definitely becoming that. Drystone mentioned
As
true.
we create our own reality.
Yeah. So the reason I'm saying what I'm saying, Isha, is not necessarily to disagree with you. It's just not to completely affirm you. Possibly it's true that inside us is this enlightened being that we just have to remember it. Or perhaps by giving ourselves ideas of infinite compassion and happiness and love, and every different positive idea you give yourself, your subconscious amplifies it and makes it amazing as you meditate more. And then you get to be all those best qualities. You know, I've been to so many different...
If I may also very, very politely add, very, very politely, I mean no disrespect by interrupting you. I thought it was the perfect time to add this, but in many philosophies, like Eastern philosophies, there's the idea, including in Buddhism as well, that this so-called, the idea of God is within us, not above sitting on some cloud, but actually inside of us. And in Hinduism, there is this story where Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu, once upon a time, people being gods, being aware of their godliness, being all awake, and using that for evil deeds, for misdeeds. Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva decided to talk about taking this power away from humans. But when they took it away, where to hide this? Where to hide this so that they can never find it? Vishnu proposed putting it into the sky, high above the earth, so that they could never find it. Brahma says, no, one day humans will come. One day humans will achieve that height. They'll find it there. Shiva says, let us put it deep, deep into the ocean. They'll never find it there. No, Brahma says, one day humans will reach the bottommost parts of the ocean. They'll find it there as well. So Brahma then gives the idea, says, we should put it where they will look for it the last place they will look for it, within themselves. And so we always look for gratification and what do you call it? I forget the word. But we look for satisfaction from outside. We look for that energy from an outside source. But as you said as well, it is always within us. We are inside. We have that godly power. It has been put into us. That is the last place we think to look.
So some of you might have noticed in that story, the way they were phrased, that about it being the last place to look. One thing I encourage all of us to do is whenever we are hearing any metaphor or someone's actual description about their experience of life, try to rephrase it to be as empowering for you as possible. So if that kind of story, as I'm listening to that, I'm telling myself that I look within. I always turn to that power within myself. A couple of weeks ago, we had somebody telling us some of his emotional hardship, and he kept saying, "We all go through this." And you may remember I had to say, hey, please be careful to say that like that's what this person went through, and not impose that mindset on ourselves. So whenever you hear someone saying something that's not helpful, if they're phrasing it as like a universal human condition, intercept that. Don't let yourself turn it into something about yourself.
Why so? There's a universal human experience.
Oh no, if someone
We
is
as humans have certain human
Drystone, can you
experiences
please
that we
listen to what
all
I'm saying?
experience.
You must have misunderstood.
Yes,
So-
I'm listening, of
So
course.
so if someone starts saying, "Oh, we all end up hating broccoli," so yeah, you could probably get into your state of mind where you're like, yeah, I can see that. But I encourage you, whenever you hear somebody say like we, check like what's actually beneficial or true there, and don't let like stories that are not empowering into your mind. And when there is an empowering story, like find strength or infinite potential in yourself. If it's phrased as like that's the last place you look, just phrase it to yourself as like, hey, I find that power within myself. It is there and it is accessible. And while some people might believe in some supernatural powers, and sometimes those beliefs are helpful, often those beliefs are delusional and like lead to time spent on stuff that's not fruitful. I try to hear those stories and translate them to myself. What would be most real and helpful from any one of those stories? But you might have noticed coming here regularly, I tend to avoid any supernatural stuff, because if you have to translate it, then I'd rather just focus on the stuff that's as real and applicable as possible.
I apologize if I sounded realistic, by the way. Like what I was saying, again, it was also very symbolic.
Absolutely. I thought that's what you were
belief,
doing.
Not in a literal belief, but yes, it's a symbolic interpretation of that power within us that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that's really been helpful to me, Drystone, is that time is so limited. It really is our most precious resource. And each thought or story that we entertain, that's the time that we've spent. And just like...
Not unless you believe in karma. Not unless you believe in reincarnation.
Well, yeah. So believing that is probably going to lead to a lot of wasted time. But even if you did believe it, it's still... your time is still precious, because if you were to take 2 lifetimes to get enlightened, then
True.
the impact you're having on people in that state, you've had 2 lifetimes of less than bliss, and the amount of help you give, which is vastly different than if you're on a track that will never lead to enlightenment, or if you're on a track that will lead to enlightenment in 3 months from now. So our time is truly precious, and the kind of thoughts and feelings that we put our intention into. I think a lot of people here play video games or other games. I was describing chess to a friend recently, how every move you try to do the absolute optimal, because if you're a little slower, the other person is going to beat you. And I hope we all take a similar approach to our own life, our own mind. Every moment is precious. You know, with the forces of life and nonsense being thrown at us and suffering and like the mass media that's definitely not enlightened, so many things coming at us, for us to make enlightenment as strong and as powerful as possible so that it overcomes everything else in the universe. How precious it is for you to choose happiness right now, for you to choose, hey, it really is worth meditating for half an hour a day, for you to choose, wow, okay, the frustrations, the angers that I've had, compassion every day for a month to transform myself is so important. Drystone, you saw last week that somebody was able to push a button that was beyond my current compassion. I definitely had a decade where my compassion practice, there was no button that could be pushed, and I was made aware that oh, thanks.
Give me a hug.
Yeah.
Of course, I love you. That's okay, and I was there for it. It's fine.
Yeah.
You have. Yes.
I'm not
Please
judging
continue.
myself
I'm
at
sorry,
all
I
for
wanted
it.
to give you the hug.
Yeah. So yeah, just seeing that, you know, it's so important to practice. You can practice yourself up to profound states, and then if you focus on completely other stuff for a while, they will fade. It's just like every other muscle. So it's so precious that we train ourselves effectively. And if you're already in a good place, I want to inspire you to envisage the most amazing space you can get into. So you're overflowing ease and happiness and enlightenment and realizations to everybody. And if you're in a dark place, if things are hard, I want you to be excited that peace is possible. You know, in the guided meditations we've had, I'm sure you've had some moments where things were okay. And I want you to hold on to that and be like, wow, what if I filled it up that every moment was that okay? And then where could I go from there? And if you're in a good place, I want you to think about those people who are not in a good place and how precious and important it is for you to amplify that awesome so that you can share it with people, that you can communicate it more easily, that they can see it more completely. So going back to the theme of today, choosing what you're going to practice, choosing how we talk to ourselves, watching what is important to put our attention onto. How do you make it feel that it feels as compelling and great as possible? Noticing the thoughts, the feelings, the beliefs that aren't helpful, and just using every one of them as a springboard into something that is helpful. I'm feeling sad. All right, there's a springboard to feel okay, or to feel gratitude, or to feel curiosity, or to explore happiness. I'm feeling confused. Oh, okay, there's a springboard to feel centered, to feel present, to feel at ease. Every part of you, make it a springboard into enlightenment, into happiness, into bliss. You know, if Drystone or I are talking about being bliss and joy at all times, and it doesn't sound as blissful or joyful as you would say it, level us up. You express joy and bliss in a way that just feels more amazing. Show us how to do it. We're a community, we're a sangha, we're all on this journey to awesome.
We are also a community in search for the higher truth. So if you find a truth higher than ours, may us all follow that truth. Because we're always, all intellectual beings are in search for the higher truth. So like Neo just said, yes, if you find a way to be more joyful all the time, Share with us. Teach us. We want to learn this new way, the higher truth. Yes,
And
sorry. I
some
apologize for interrupting.
sometimes it won't even be a different teaching. Maybe it's just, I talk about being bliss and you find focusing on works better. Or like, even if we just took the two skills of watch your mind and practice things, within that there is billions of possibilities. Within that you can apply it to your exercise regime. How much do you exercise? How much fun do you have when you exercise? What kind of games do you play? You can apply it to your relationship with food. How good is salad? How much do I care about my environmental impact? How much do I care about the experience of the farmers or the people who shipped the food, or if you eat animals, what they went through? If you're applying mental awareness to yourself, how you feel, are you going to be level 3 happiness, level 4, level 10, level a billion, level infinite? Maybe thinking about it in numbers doesn't work for you. Are you going to imagine all the laughter in the universe? Are you going to imagine all the love that people have ever felt? Like, within every aspect of us applying brain engineering, there's infinite scope to all the different areas. But even within one of those areas, it's like, let's find as amazing as possible. If we're just talking about happiness, are we going to talk about level billion happiness? Are we going to talk about laughing so hard you can't stop for 4 hours? Let's find the kinds of ways of being that are as amazing and helpful as possible. And as Drystone said, if you find an attitude, a perspective that is really helpful for you, please share it often, loud, proud. Let it keep growing in yourself and in each other. I really like happiness meditation. I was doing just pure consciousness breathing, and then I just glimpsed, there's the part of me that's happy. And I just followed that and just experienced pure happiness. And for decades, that moment has then shifted me, and thousands of people have been to laughter and happiness meditations of the style that I do. And if you find a little moment or a little perspective or a profound moment or profound perspective, please share it. Please say it often. Keep it loud in your own mind and help it bounce through all of our minds in awesome ways. So I wasn't planning to mention Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, but yes, knowing that there's this enlightened, infinite potential in yourself, continuing to turn to it. And then the Dharma, whether it's ancient teachings or whether it's the most awesome things from all of this community and all the best teachers you can find, keep focusing on the ways of being that are as enlightening as possible. And then Sangha, as a community, keep shining that brightness and soaking up the brightness. If somebody says something and you're like, wow, that seems like a cool way of being, try to internalize it. Imagine you soak it up like you're Neo from the Matrix. You just plug it into your brain. Okay, I'm like that. Just try to imagine, try to rehearse, try to embody any bit of awesome that's in a positive community, and just be that as fast as you can. Feel it in your body. Feel it in your perspective. Feel it in the tones in your voice. Just rehearse. So, I feel like sharing a story. In European pagan practices, they have this idea of training your mind and transforming. Maybe they have some spiritual perspective of saying that, like, you're shifting into a different something or other. Doesn't matter. But yeah, there's this practice they have of go somewhere, go to another town or something, and for an entire month, just be a different person. Completely be a different person. And then for another month, go to another town and be another completely different person. And you imagine you just role play a character for a month. How wildly that will not just shift who you think you are, but will also empower you. Like, whoa, I can actually feel and be anything. I've often heard stories of method actors, Hollywood stars, and they be a character for whether it's a month or two for a shot or even years, like Spock from Star Trek. He says he's forever changed. Rationality is the lens through which he sees everything now, because he played this character for a while. And so many actors say they role play something and it becomes a part of them. And I want you to be role playing an enlightened being, a world-saving superhero. Yeah, so in this tradition, it would be like walk to a village back in the day when money didn't even happen. I'm not necessarily meaning you have to go to somewhere. I'm just telling the story of what it was. So I hope that you can also find a way to do that, whether it's just do it anyway with the people you used to hang out with, or just go to some different activities. Find some meetup that's free, or some different sports group, or some other place. Just find some ways to give yourself freedom. And you don't have to go to a whole new place, a whole new people. That's just what this tradition did. You can definitely try and do it within yourself. And yeah, so if there is a place where you could go and visit, yeah, try going and role playing for a day. Catch a bus. I hope you can afford a little bus ticket. Or if a lot of the people who were the main people in your life have gone, wonderful. It's a space for freedom. It's a space for you to become the person you want for these next chapters. And you'll then bring in the kind of people who match that person. Yeah, I'm sorry, I was just guessing there'd be a bus to the village. I'm not sure where it is. But details aside, I'm sure we can all find a way to have some time to role play and be that different person. All right. Oh, I just noticed the time. It's time for our closing meditation. All right, so I think we'll begin. I'm just going to wait to see what Zeno says in this last message. So as we're getting ready, Drystone, did you have a question?
My question was, and with all the love and respect and humbleness, I would like to ask if I could have your blessing and your permission to give the ending meditation. If not, that's fine. No problem.
I already had something in mind,
No
so
problem at all.
I think we're going to go with the one that I already
ahead.
planned.
I just
Yeah.
wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Just wanted to ask.
Thanks for offering.
Of course. Thank you for listening.
So, I just invite everybody to close your eyes and just notice how your body feels right now. And yes, today we went on a bit of a roller coaster. There was some peaceful meditation. There was some confrontation. There was some uplifting time. There was people sharing hardship. There was other stuff that was happening in your day. Just notice your body and mind and see where it's at now. And I invite you to just move into your meditation posture. Any adjustments you need with this idea of, hey, I'm going to let all that go. stepping into meditation is like this time of coming home, like Drystone described, this cozy place inside yourself, free from the storm. So as you get your body more into the posture of meditation, you may already notice your body relaxing, your mind relaxing, your feelings relaxing. And if you're not already noticing that, maybe it feels good to know that each time you meditate, you're learning to have this peace and goodness more accessible. You'll get to a point where peace and calm and at ease is always right there. Meditation can be like a journey into that place, building a teleport so that it's accessible anytime you need. So we're just going to take some deep, peaceful breaths, and you're going to feel peace in the body and in the mind. Some of you will notice you can just dive into feeling it, and then each breath you feel it more completely, expansively, beautifully. Some of you will notice you feel it a little, and then every now and then you notice, whoa, so much more peace. And then a little more, and then whoa. Some of you will just notice, just gradually, more peace. Body's more relaxed. You feel better. And if your attention goes somewhere else, and then your body and mind shifts gears again, you just bring it back. You're just learning to go deeper into the stillness, deeper into the peace. Some of you may be able to intellectually engage with this idea. It's about where we put our attention, how we take our focus. And so, even if you're not feeling it at all right now, imagining a beautiful relaxation, a feeling of feeling completely okay. If you take some time to imagine it, it's like you're tunneling your mind over into that way of being. If that's already easy and obvious to you, I encourage you to tunnel yourself into perfect enlightenment, perfect empowerment. And now you're going to guide your own meditation. You may want to stay in that peace, just grow the peace, grow the stillness and the freedom. Or you may want to remember some of the most helpful ideas from today, and you can internalize them and practice them. Or you may guide your own meditation in some other way. Just a few more breaths to decide what you're going to do. And now whatever idea is standing out in your mind most, decide to do that. Guide yourself into that experience. Imagine how you could guide this meditation for yourself in the most powerful, impactful way possible. What would it feel like? Maybe you'd like to imagine guiding this meditation from a different perspective. What if the wisest being in the universe was guiding that meditation right there inside your mind? Or what if the Buddha was doing it? Or what if the best version of you was doing it? What if all the minds in the universe worked together to give you the most transformative experience possible? And imagine if you just keep making this stronger each day, reaffirming it, cultivating it. Then notice what your attention is like right now. And as you shift your meditation, shift your attention, you shift how you feel, try to bring with you all the goodness that you've cultivated today. Maybe there were some decisions you made or some ideas you had. Try to remember them. And as we're just wrapping up this meditation, you can choose. Do you want to make it feel great? Come out with an amazing feeling? Do you want to be completely mindful of every moment? A fully awakened consciousness? Do you want to remember some decisions you made? Do you want to believe in yourself or practice believing in yourself? And we're just going to take 3 invigorating breaths to come out of the meditation. Okay, well, to everyone who's joined on the live stream, to those of you who joined in the weight room video, and to everyone who's here in the temple, I hope you found tonight entertaining and enlightening, and I hope uplifting. I hope you feel the practices were something you'd like to keep practicing. The perspectives are things you'll keep growing. And I'm just going to finish with a dedication. So if you'd like to stand, you're welcome to. What we just shared, I hope whatever moments were useful or beautiful or seemed that they could be useful, I hope you cherish them. I hope you polish them and make them more wonderful for you. I hope you plant those seeds in the garden of yourself and you grow them every day. And I hope they become more awesome than you even could imagine today. I hope the ease becomes so easy that it fills your whole life. I hope the happiness truly becomes overflowing. I hope the believing in yourself and the choosing what you practice becomes ever present with every thought. Or whatever it was that stood out for you today. I hope you love it. I hope you grow it. Caring and tending to yourself awesomely and caringly and beautifully and upliftingly, awakenedly. But I want us to dedicate even bigger than doing something wonderful for yourself. When we transform ourselves, it transforms others. And as big as you can imagine right now, whether that's yourself being wonderful and that rubbing off on people around you, or whether that rubbing off on entire communities, or whether you want to imagine the whole world being enlightened, just dedicate this goodness as much and as big as feels real and authentic to you right now. Thank you all for being here, and I hope it's clear that I really mean it. I wish that all for all of you, with all of my wishing, all of my intention. Everything that I said today is things that I and many people have achieved. We can transform our consciousness, and we can transform ourselves, and I truly mean it for you as soon as
Bless
possible.
you and your consciousness and your words.